Hey guys, I'm back and welcome to a dirty workspace. So, you guys want more in the shop videos, more project videos, and here we go. You remember this. This is the Ravencrest knife for February. We discussed not liking this knife at length with the paracord handle and all sorts of stuff, and we said, let's see what we can do to put scales on this thing. So, you know, I've been looking at it with lots of options, and I'm going to make the first attempt today, just throwing some ideas around. So what I'm going to use to actually secure the scales is some extra Hinderer XM24 screws and frame screws and nuts here that I have. So these are 3/16. I have a 3/16 bit drill bit. I have a feeling that what Ravencrest does, the easiest way to prepare things like this is just grind the whole billet and then send it off for heat treating as a whole. So this is probably hardened steel, the entire thing, which means it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world to drill holes through here. Rather than, you know, just trying to hunt down and find things that we can put through the holes that are already there, it's probably just easier and you know, expedient to make new holes for the bolts that we're going to use to hold the scales on. So this is probably going to be time consuming. When you're working with hardened steel, you can use a blowtorch to soften it, but you don't want to risk ruining the heat treat that's on the blade as well. You got to be really careful when you heat up, say, the handle area, not to let any of that heat creep forward to the blade. So we'll use a lot of machining oil. We'll work very, very slowly to drill those holes so that we can mount some scales onto this easily using the tools that we have. And then I've got some really cool materials to put scales on here that we'll look at. Different options, we'll take a look, but we'll see what we can do with this, including redoing, you know, the finish on the blade and everything, making it look really, really awesome. So, just real quick, I'm going to turn this on, and we'll just do an initial, just sort of like ping almost on here. Now, I don't really need to be that specific as to where I put the holes. What I am going to do, though, is draw a line, because I want them to be relatively centered. So, in a very unscientific method, I'm just going to sort of take a piece of scrap, that is hardened steel. So that's going to take a little while to get through. You guys don't want to watch this whole process. It's going to take a long time. So let me just work on this and we'll be back. So progress, like I said, this is going to be a slow and steady process. So I'm going to try another thing from Primal Urge because they're delicious. I'm almost through the original box they sent me. Well, unfortunately, I got another box last night, so we'll do another unboxing soon. But gonna let this cool down a little bit. I'll take a little snack break. It's not that hot, but I mean, we're getting there. We're getting on the first one anyway. You see, we've got some progress. But so if you are attempting something like this and you're not familiar with how it works, the minute you hear a squeak or you see a little bit of smoke, that's when it's time to squirt some oil, pull back a little bit, let stuff cool down, because what comes just very shortly after that is either this all seizes up and you throw a knife blade across the room, or you snap a drill bit or something like that. So I'm gonna let it just, like I said, rest, cool down, we'll start again. So, one hole done. Look at that. And our pin fits. So, on to the next one. We got our 2 holes drilled here finally. And I just did a little light sanding there just to even out some of the burrs that formed there. So it all should be good now. So I think I'm going to use this block of material because it's a good sized block there. I can cut it straight down the middle and put a slab on each side. It'll give us a nice thick handle on this, and it'll look pretty cool too. This has a glow ribbon embedded in it, and of course you're not going to see it very well with this big light on, but it's got glow-in-the-dark material inside the acrylic, and it'll be a cool, nice touch. Plus it'll look nice. It'll be easy to work with. We'll have lots of options, and it'll be big enough for us to work with all the way down the tang here of the knife. So I'm going to go over to the bandsaw, cut that in half so we can slab it on each side, and then we'll get some holes drilled and figure out exactly where do we want these scales to end up. How far down the knife do we want to go with them? So lots of style choices we have to make at this point. These 2 pieces that I just cut are Kieranite. Oh, I forgot the actual name. Starglow or something like that. Starlight. Kieranite Starlight. So these are going to be some blue glowing pieces, which should add just a little bit of depth to the handles, but also just a little added extra. So yeah, some thicker handles, which is going to let me do some sculpting on these scales without losing too much width. I know it looks very wide right now, but it's going to all work out in the end. I've done my least favorite part. I've composited the scales, so the epoxy part is done. So we've got the Kieranite Starlight, and we've got, I forgot the name of this material, but it's cool looking. It looks messy now. It'll get all cleaned up before we're done. So I'm ready to lay this down and drill some holes for the appropriate screws and the lanyard hole there. And I'm going to leave myself enough room to make this flow down the tang as much as I want to. So we'll just measure it off and get ready to drill. I decided to switch it up to some smaller screws. They have a 3/16 coupler in the middle, but they're smaller, less obtrusive. I think they'll show more of the scale off, when we're all done here, which is what we want to do. So I think that'll look really, really cool. So now it is time to go take off material, basically. Pretty sure I just forgot to record that entire thing. So what I did was I made a series of cuts on different angles because, the sweep of this handle changes. So I just took it to the saw and cut out contours, basically, because every piece, every millimeter I cut here is less I have to grind later. So it gives me an idea of where I'm going to be grinding. And I think we're going to come all the way down to there and then angle outwards. So now I just have to basically grind to match the shape of the tang, and that's a lot easier than grinding that whole big block. Basic shape. A little bit wide. It's going to slim down as we work on it, but that's what we're going for. So we need to angle those out a little bit, round off the edges, do some patterning in there, but I think it's going to be a much more comfortable knife. I think it's going to look really awesome when it's done. I need to wash this. That smells terrible, by the way. See, we didn't lose a whole lot of width, but just enough that's going to make it a lot more comfortable. And we'll need to get rid of that pointy part right there. Okay. Let me wash that off so you can see it through the dust. Right now, here it is cleaned up a little bit. Now we have the option here, if I get it wet a little bit, it can get very, very glossy and shiny. So we have the option to leave it kind of like this in a rough finish, or we have the option to really sand it very nicely down. We'll still keep the pattern and the texture, but make it very, very shiny. We can give it a little bit of shine just by oiling it up, and the acrylic will absorb some of the oil and choking on dust in the air here, and we'll get a little bit of a just a little bit of a glow to it. But you know, I might leave it just like this, where you can see those grind lines and stuff, because it matches what I'm thinking I'm going to do with the blade. But the next step is I've got to contour the next side to match this one. Here's another rough view of where we're at, and I think it's it looks pretty good. Now we could probably just call it done here, but we're not going to. And we could say here, we very much improved this knife. It's got a great handle. It's actually very comfortable. Great width. Really fits the hand well. Much better grip than it came with before. But we are not done with it, not just yet. So I hate working on the handle and not doing anything with the blade either. So I think I have some ideas for the blade. And I gotta figure out if I am going to leave these rough or oil them up or smooth them out. I might give them just a little bit, maybe to like a 400 grit, and then oil them up and then leave them there. I got some ideas for what we're going to do with the blade. I've got the scales attached to the blade right now, to the knife itself. I decided what I'm going to do is, instead of doing the fine sanding, what I'm going to do is just give this a light sandblast to sort of smooth out the finish a little bit, even it out. It's still going to have a nice rough texture to it, so lots of grippiness, but just smooth out some of those grind lines and give it a nice kind of frosty finish, for lack of a better word, and then I'll oil it up. I think it'll look really good. It'll also, then what I'm going to do is also put some jimping to match the jimping on the blade. I developed that jimping just a little bit deeper too, to give a really, really nice grip. I developed that choil just a little tiny bit deeper, so you get a really good lock on that handle when you're holding it. And I've got the blade all set for Cerakoting, where we're going to mask off and where we're actually going to coat. So I'm really excited. So I just have the scales attached because it's going to be very convenient for me to hold here and blast them. Then I'll remove them and we'll blast the entire blade here, tang and all, and coat the whole thing, so that we have like full 360-degree coverage of the Cerakote, and it's totally encased the whole thing. And then we'll be ready to put everything back together and have the finished product. The color I've picked is Cobalt, which I love. It's just a great color. It's kind of, it's not quite black, it's not a gray, it's not quite a metallic. It's going to give a really nice look to the metal on this. I'm going to do the screws in this too. So I had this on the shaker. I'm going to get my spray gun loaded up and get this coated and in the oven for curing. While we've got the actual knife and the screws out of the oven now and cured, they're cooling down, I went and washed off the scales after the sandblasting, and I love them. I like the look, but I think I'm going to give them a little bit of oil just to brighten them up a little bit. And this step, whether you're working with G10 or micarta or acrylics or anything, you're going to see a huge difference, because all the material has little pores, and to different degrees, depending on the material, it absorbs the oil, and it sort of, I don't know how to describe it, but it really brings it to life. Now, it's not going to stay this shiny and glossy, because we're going to wipe the oil on the surface off, but we're going to let it absorb in a little bit, and it's going to give it less of a dull, kind of beat up look, but it's going to really, I mean, this is going to look fantastic when we get it on there. Again, it's not going to look this glossy and shiny at all. It's going to absorb some of the oil. We're going to wipe a lot of it off, but the difference between the two is kind of night and day. It just takes a little drop too. You don't need a lot, because if you give a lot of oil on there, I mean, you use a lot, you're just going to end up wiping a lot of it off. So just enough to get it looking pretty. Get it into all the little pores. You don't see the pores. You know what I love? So it's kind of, it's smoothed out, but you can still see all those little grind lines in there. So you know that this was made by hand and not on a CNC machine or something. I'm going to actually let these sit and let that oil absorb in before we wipe it all off, while the metal parts cool down. So after the wipe down, these things look awesome, and they are ready to go on the knife. So let's go get that knife. So this is Cobalt. I love this color. So the first order of business is going to be to unmask the blade, the actual cutting blade. And I left that really nice Ravencrest finish on there because I like it a lot. So let's get the tape off. We've got that nice Ravencrest finish, and I'll just use a little bit of alcohol to get the remaining stickiness off there. But then we've got the cobalt all around. I think that's a pretty classic look right there. I think it's going to look very good with our scales once they're affixed. So I'm going to do a test fit before we really get them on there for good. Pretty sweet, if I do say so myself. We're almost done. Almost done. So I gotta tighten these down permanently, fix them on here, but they fit perfectly. Everything looks great. We gotta make a little trip to the laser though before we finish this project up. So let's go do that. So that is what we've got going on between the Kyanite Starlight, the glow-in-the-dark material, the ribbons in the material, in the acrylic. It's pretty sweet. Nice little touch. I know not everybody likes glow-in-the-dark, but let's face it, a lot of people do. And because of the way I cut the material here, you notice how it matches from left to right? Sweet! Very nicely done, if I do say so myself. Awesome. Alright, let's turn the light on though and actually do the lasering we came in here for. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the Ravencrest bird back on, because it's a Ravencrest knife. So it's going to go right here, right where it was before. Looking something like that, which is pretty much where it went. We're going to do just a quick shot to see what it looks like. Alright, and yeah, okay, so now I'm going to change some settings here. Now for a little DocP and a little shop. Let's see if we can just make it a tiny bit bigger. How's that looking? I think that'll work nicely. I love watching the laser go. It's just so much fun. Now shooting the laser through Cerakote is very different than hitting just plain steel. Very, very different. So I think I'm going to let it cool for a second and then just give it one more shot. And I think we're good there. Finished version, I kind of love. I love the blue. See, one side has a lot more of the pearlescent than the other, but still, the pattern is great. I'm really happy with the way it came out after the sandblasting. You still have those grind lines that you can see, but it's not too pronounced. Very grippy when you hold it. You can see we've really given a lot more for the hand to hold on to. It's a lot more comfortable of a knife than it was originally. I think the cobalt finish combined with that original Ravencrest finish, because I like that Ravencrest finish that they do, but I think that keeping it on the grind areas kind of gives it a worn look, you know, and then giving that cobalt to all the other flats, that's just, I think that goes really well with what we've done with the handles. It's just, I love it. I'm hoping you guys do too. Just, I love the way the texture came out on the scales. And of course the glow in the dark. Who doesn't love glow in the dark? A lot of people don't love glow in the dark, but a lot of people do. So I think we've done a really good job. Not overly complicated, but enough to really set this apart. Make it very unique. Showy, yeah, but also very, very functional. super functional when it comes to getting yourself a more comfortable grip, a better grip on the knife itself, and here's the moment of truth actually. How does it fit back in the sheath? It's a stretch, but it fits, and it holds it in pretty damn secure. So this knife is done, finished. Very nice. What do you guys think? You guys like it? You like it better? Anybody like the original knife better with the original 550 cord on it? Anybody not like the blue? Would have liked to have seen a different material or just a different style of scale on this thing? What are your opinions? And don't try to, don't spare my feelings. What do you guys really think of the way this came out? I'd like to know. Do you think it would be worth buying another one of these? They gave us the 35% off code when the January one got all screwed up. To try again with something else. What suggestions would you have for another one? Okay, guys. Well, I hope everybody really honestly enjoyed this. Again, I've been trying to do a lot more of your requests, and what I hear all the time is show us more projects in the shop. So here you go. I really enjoyed doing this. Who knows, maybe this will be in the next big giveaway, or, another giveaway or something. Maybe somebody will end up with this. I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but, yeah. So as we ponder that, I want you guys to remember, you are all absolutely awesome. I appreciate every single one of you, and I'll be back again real soon.